Lisa, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you this awesome summer fun die. This is a pool folded. It's like a little kiddie pool. It is so adorable and perfect for summer. This die measures, so from the shadow layer, the whitest part to the widest part on the shadow layer, it's 7 inches. So it is a 7-inch long die. And then across, it measures about 3.5 inches. So it's about 3.5 by 7. So this is gonna fit in a larger envelope. It will be a typical 5 by 7 type card. And it is a folded card. So what that means is that this is an actual card base shaped like a kiddie pool. Isn't this adorable? This is a Stamps of Life product and it goes perfectly with their brand new stamp set of them for the month, which is the Floaties to Stamp. So I'm gonna make this card with you today. Now this can be a card, or you can actually make a really cute scrapbook page layout with this die as well as with the little floaties. I did do a video on those, so make sure you go check that out and I will link it below. And gosh, I'm in love with this. So you can cut this with various color cardstock. You can layer up different colors here, or if you wanted to use some pattern paper. I am going to be using some pattern paper and solid color cardstock today. I decided to go with some of these pastel colors. This is from the Hooray collection paper pad from the Stamps of Life. So I know I'm going to take this layer, and my goal here is to have some different layers going here and here, because this will cut out 2 pieces. And you can use your Stamps of Life pattern paper pad, but I do want to point out that if you try it and put the die this way, it's not going to fit. So in order to get it straight up on the edge here, it's gonna hang over the side. So if you're using your pattern paper, you're gonna have to put it at a diagonal. My first thought was I wanted to get a paper such as this one with the starfish, but if I were to put this die in the diagonal to get that, these starfish would not be straight, because notice that they do have eyes and they have an actual face on them, eyes and a mouth. So I decided I'm not going to use this paper because it has a direction to it. So I went with this, which is a non-directional print, which it doesn't matter where your die is placed and it will look just fine either way. So I'm going to put my die face down here on my pattern paper. I'm going to die cut this out, and notice when it die cuts it out, it comes out with actually 3 pieces, because it does cut out the center as well. So look at that. I could actually just flip that over and have the water for the pool. That just worked out perfectly, because the back side of this paper is like an ocean color. So anyway, so you can either use the whole thing as you see it and just do a polka dotted pool, or if you want to switch it up like I'm going to have one of the layers be pink. But I just think that turned out so perfect. Look at that. So then, you know, if you didn't have a paper that ended up having the ocean side on the opposite, you can die cut this again with, you know, a blue color paper so that you have something there for the water. So I'm going to take this same die. I'm going to die cut it again out of this candy cardstock. And by the way, this die, it will go through any standard die cutting machine. You do not need a larger machine for this, because you can just put it through on the short end. All right, so I ran that through my die cut machine. Also got these 3 pieces. So I can either do a pink top, which I think I'm not going to do that, and then the polka dot bottom, or I can do the polka dot top, and then I can do a solid pink bottom, and I really like that. I think that's really cute. Look how cute that is. Okay, and then we'll need to do the card base as well as the shadow layer out of this die. To make the card base, I'm gonna be using a piece of the white, which is the powdered sugar cardstock, and I'm just gonna fold that in half. This is a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper scored down the middle. And you can choose to have the die open from the top or from the side. And if you want it to open from the top, you would just place your die so that it is directly above the score. Or if you wanted it to open from the side, and unfortunately, because this is a smaller sheet of paper, I can't do that. But if you did have a longer sheet of paper and you wanted it to open from the side, you would place your score immediately to the right of that die. So I can't do that because I don't have enough paper here. So I'm going to place mine so that it opens from the top. Now the Stamps of Life does sell longer sheets of paper, of cardstock. So if you're interested in that, you can go over to their website under their cardstock and see their longer sheets, which will allow you to, you know, open these larger dies on the side, having a side fold. So when that comes out of the die cut machine, you have your card base. Now, when you are making a folded card, and I want to point out that wherever you had your die extending off the edge of the paper, it is going to cut off some of the cardstock. So right here I have a flat edge. So just to fix that, you just take that same die and die cut the same color cardstock, just a single layer. And what that does is it gives you the more rounded look so that you can use that piece for your top layering piece on your card front. So that would go right on top. And this is the piece that we would decorate. So all of our pieces that we die cut out would go on top of that piece, just like that. So we would glue all that down. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is just add some ink. This is the Candy Stamps of Life ink, which matches the candy paper or cardstock. So I'm just gonna add some ink to the edges of this. I'm also gonna add some pink to the edges of the white with the print. I'm gonna add some of the ocean ink to this piece. All right, and I'm not gonna adhere everything yet because I want to include the new Stephie doll in this pool. I wanna put her in this pool. So in order to do that, I can't have everything adhered because I would need to slip her in this part and then glue her down. So I'm gonna get that ready before I adhere everything together. So I went ahead and got all my pieces ready, and I am using the Stephie Doll 4. I did not color her all the way because I'm gonna end up cutting her feet off, but I did stamp her out and I colored her up. And if you're interested in seeing how I did her hair or skin, I do have a video that I previously posted, and I will link that below so you can take a look at that. So I'm not showing any of the coloring here. I am going to also use her snorkel gear as well as the float. So for the snorkel, I did stamp those out and color them up. And I have those here. I die cut them with the corresponding dies. I am using the beach ball. This is not from that set. It's actually from a different set. It is from the Summer for Fun set. So I stamped out the beach ball and I colored it with some of the, I'm using these colors that I have here in this pattern paper. So I just chose some Copic markers that are similar to those. So that's what I'm using. And then for her float, I just took the die and I die cut it out of some kiwi paper and I put some kiwi ink around the edges. So, and before I go any further, I'm gonna go ahead and just trim around her some more and just get rid of some more of this white. I used the die to cut her out, but I don't want all this white showing, especially just around her hands, because I want it to look more like her hands are holding onto this float. So I'm gonna go ahead and first of all, I'm gonna trim off her legs, because I'm not gonna need those. And then I'm just gonna take my scissors and I'm just gonna trim her a little bit more so that I get a closer cut to her body. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and I will be right back. All right, so I went ahead and just trimmed around that a little bit more, and then I will place her in here. So you can see it just eliminates a lot of that white paper and it just makes her hands look a little bit more like they're holding onto this float. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start adhering some things down. I'm gonna start with this layer here, and I'm gonna be using my Tombow glue just because my Tombow glue allows me to, if I need to reposition something, it doesn't give a strong hold right away. So it allows me to reposition, gives me that wiggle room. That's why I like to use it on projects like this that have several layers that have to be in a certain position. So let's go ahead and adhere the bottom part first. And we are adhering these layers to the single piece of cardstock, not to the actual card base. It's just the single shadow layer. All right, so before we adhere that one down, that's gonna need to go inside, and her legs will have to be behind the top part of the float. So I think what I'm gonna do, the easiest thing will be, is to go ahead and put glue on this piece, but don't put glue right at the top so I can slide her in. And if I need to, I can just trim off a little bit more of her legs. All right, so here I'm just gonna put it on the side, but notice I'm gonna keep a lot of this part without glue. This part I can put close up to the top. Okay, so let's see if she'll slide in there. Just make sure she's gonna fit in there. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and adhere this piece down first because she will have to sit on top of that. So this goes down before the Stephie doll. All right, so I just slid her right inside there, and she does have her float on her. So I haven't adhered anything down, but you can decide if you want the float to be further down, but I think I kind of want it to just close the gap between her bathing suit and the pool. So I'm gonna make it further up. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some glue on the bottom of her float. Okay, and then I'll be able to just put some glue behind her body. There's not going to be any behind her head because obviously that is sticking up. So I'm just going to lean her forward just a tad. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere all the other things on here. I want to create a palm tree, so I'm going to be using this Island to Visit stamp set. And I'm going to take out the big palm tree branch, and I am using my Misty, and I'm going to be stamping this onto some kiwi cardstock, and I'm going to be using the Green Apple Stamps of Life ink. So I'm going to grab that with my Misty. I'm going to ink up my stamp and stamp that down. And I want a little bit darker impression, so I'm going to just ink this up again and stamp it down again. So next we're going to take the die and we're going to just line it up with the branches of the palm tree, add some washi tape, and run it through the die cut machine. Next I took the shadow die of the palm tree, cut it out of the chocolate, and then the top layering piece out of the ginger snap, and I am just going to add some ginger snap ink to the edges of the ginger snap piece of the palm tree, and then I will adhere those together. So next I'm going to take the palm trees and I'm just going to position them where I want them. They are going to go behind the pool. So just kind of get an idea for how tall you want them. Place them where you want them to go. You definitely want to make sure that they are even, but you definitely don't want them overlapping with the doll. I also want to put a little sign here between the palm trees. I think it'll work out. If not, I'll have to put it down towards the bottom. But I die cut a stitched rectangle die out of the white powdered sugar cardstock, and I just stamped out in my Forever Black ink, "Let's Make a Splash." That is on the same stamp set as the Stephie doll. And I am going to just ink up the edges with some candy ink. And then I'm going to take some candy cardstock And I'm just going to back this up on some candy cardstock as I take my scissors and just trim around. I just want to have a little border around the edges. Okay, so I think this is how I want it to look. I put my little sign here. It will end up attaching to the trees. I thought about spreading the trees out a little bit more and putting some twine and just let it hang from the twine, but I didn't know how secure that would be. So I think I'm just gonna attach a little bit to the front or to the front of these palm trees, and that will make it a little bit more secure. So what I need to do now is I need to start gluing down my palm trees. So I'm gonna move this, I'm gonna move that and that. And since I have everything exactly where I want it, I'm going to take this palm tree as I hold it and flip it over, and I'm just going to trace along the back here because I know that's where I want that palm tree to go. I am going to be using my art glitter glue. This one will dry much quicker, and that's what I want because I need to finish putting this card together. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach that. Okay, and then I need to go ahead and position this one again, see where I want it, just make sure it's the same height as the other one. So I think that'll be good. So I'm gonna flip this around, just trace along. And then go ahead and glue this one down. So notice I'm putting glue on the actual back of this card rather than on the palm tree. And I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing down my palm tree. So I'm gonna just put some glue at the top of this and adhere the branches. And I want to make sure that the same amount of branch is on each side because when I put this little sign up, I want it to look balanced. All right, so since I was able to get some of the leaf of the palm tree behind her head, I can go ahead and put some glue on that and just attach her head down so that it's not flopping around. All right, so now I'm ready to add my sentiment here. So just decide where you want it, and then we'll be able to put some glue on the back. I think I'm going to mark this with a pencil. And then I'll just erase those pencil lines, just so I know where my glue's gonna go. All right, I also have some of these really pretty enamel dots. These are in an ocean color, and I'm gonna go ahead and put those here on my sentiment. All right, so the last thing we're gonna do is attach this to the card base. So I'm gonna take my card base, open it up and lay it flat. I'm going to flip this over, and the glue is just gonna go on the bottom portion here. So that's why we made sure that we put these palm trees on this layer. So when we add it to the card base and you look at the back, the palm trees are kind of tucked behind there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add my glue. And then just kind of line everything up. One more thing I wanted to do is I wanted to apply some glossy accents to the lens of these goggles, just to make it look like there was almost like a glass on there. All right, so I'm just gonna take my glossy accents and I'm just going to put it over top of these goggles. And of course this will have to sit and dry. And it will need to dry flat. So I am just going to put an acrylic block on the side of this. just to hold this down so that it dries flat, and then that will make it look like it has it's actual three-dimensional. So I also thought it would be cute to add some flip-flops to the other side of this pool. And I was gonna do purple. I ended up stamping some purple out, but then I said, no, the purple doesn't match the purple that's in her bathing suit, even though this is the Stamps of Life purple ink, but I colored this with Copic markers, so I didn't think that looked good. I ended up stamping, I wanted to introduce more purple, but since I couldn't do that, I ended up stamping the flip-flops out in the kiwi ink. These are from the Summer for Fun stamp set, so it is a solid stamp of the flip-flop. So I just took those stamps and I inked them up with kiwi ink and stamped them onto white cardstock, and then the straps, stamped that out with some Forever Black ink. So I think that will be cute if I add those flip-flops to the other side of this pool. So I have the snorkel on one side and then the flip-flops on the other. And I did just fussy cut those out because there's not a die to cut those out. So I just cut around it with my scissors. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and add some more of those enamel dots, epoxy dots that I added up here. And just add some to the flip-flops just to add some character, some more character to it. Isn't that adorable? So that completes my card. So I just love how this turned out. Obviously this is way too big to fit into a 5x7 envelope, but you can always put it in one of the large, what the 8.5 by 11 size large mailers. You can always put it in one of those. So again, I used the palm trees, the Stephie Doll 4, some other accents from the other summer beach sets. So I'm gonna go ahead and link all of these products in my blog. So head on down to the description box and you can take a look at my blog. There's a link there and you can head on over there to see what products were used. So again, this opens into a card where you can write your message, and it also stands up. So whoever's receiving it, they can actually stand it up on their table and look at it often because it's just so cute. So if you have any other questions, comments, please leave them below. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.